And then what happened is that I went into this field and I met some amazing people, Denise being one of those people. And then I got to help other people deal with the emotional ups and downs of infertility and menstrual cycles and relationships. So let's get into that part of the talk. So what happened to me and what happens to the women that I work with is that they experience the emotional ups and downs based on where they are in the cycle. And so we go through this period where we are usually, there's a downtime right before the cycle where we are very upset because the last menstrual cycle did not result in a pregnancy. And so then what happens is when we seek medical treatment, that allows us to become more hopeful. And so we're seeking the treatment, and then a lot of times it's really helpful to have a support system, like a group. Like one of the things that I run that really helps the women is a Resolve support group. And I also recommend that people get connected to Resolve, which is a national infertility support organization that has a lot of information, a lot of different ways to support people going through infertility. And that's at resolve.org. And so going back to the ups and downs, so then as you're anticipatory of the cycle, then we start to get more hopeful, and maybe we even go through a treatment cycle, and then we have the waiting time, the 2-week wait, which is very nerve-wracking, and then when it does not result in a pregnancy, then that's the downward slide. That's where we can crash and burn and become very depressed, isolated, hopeless. And it's really hard and depleting to go through this cycle every month. And of course, it affects the bedroom because we start feeling like we are being very unsuccessful in the bedroom. And so we start to have negative feelings about sexuality, maybe our partner's sexuality, the sexuality that we have together. And so it can cause a lot of issues in the bedroom. In fact, it's funny, my husband and I attended a Resolve conference many years ago. And we have a 20-year-old daughter who was conceived through in vitro fertilization. And so it was many years ago that we went to this conference, over 20 years ago. And there were different talks that you could attend. And my husband and I split up because we really wanted to soak it all in. And so I picked the one about sexuality and sex because I like sex. And I was really disheartened by this emotional roller coaster ride that we were on individually and then also as a couple. We had many cycles that resulted in failure. And so what that creates in the bedroom is a sense of failure individually and as a couple. So anyways, I happened to go to that particular workshop. And the woman that taught it was a sex expert. She didn't really know about infertility, but she knew about sex. So she actually started talking, and here we are, we're kind of an angry group of, I guess, sexually frustrated people, definitely frustrated that we weren't conceiving. And so she started to take some notes and, how does this infertility affect your sex life? And so she started to jot down that a sense of failure. She started to write down, we were talking about how that sex needs to be timed. And she just started writing down this long list. And she said, you have every element of sexual dysfunction in this list. And so no wonder this is an issue. And so I'm going to talk more about solutions to that. But going through infertility is just so pervasive. It really can negatively impact how we feel about ourselves as an individual, and how we feel about our relationship, and then how we feel about our sexuality. So it really is very pervasive. It's really, that's one of the reasons that it's traumatic, because it negatively impacts all these areas of our lives, or it can negatively impact. It impacts our work life, because we need these medical treatments, and we need to leave work at the most optimal time. And so we're constantly needing to leave work for appointments, and we really don't necessarily want to disclose why we are leaving work, because it's very personal and private. So it just really creates a lot of these particular challenges. So let me just move on to some solutions and coping mechanisms that are very helpful in problem solving. And then last, I'll close on keeping it exciting in the bedroom. So this is what I found that worked for me. I actually ended up joining a group. So for a long time, infertility was my dirty little secret. And I felt really, really bad about myself. And I find that my clients feel this way too. I felt that there was something wrong with me. And, you know, I did have a medical diagnosis. I was dealing with infertility. We did try for 7 years, and finally it worked, that we went through IVF and conceived our daughter through IVF. But at the beginning, it was my dirty little secret. And so once I started to share about that and learn other people that were going through similar processes, I actually joined a group. And that was so healing for me, to hear other people that were thinking and feeling the same way that I felt. That was an amazing experience, to share about my thoughts of going to Mexico and seeing the little beggar children and wanting to kidnap one of them and bring them back to America, and feeling like, okay, that's a little crazy. And then having other women in the group say, oh yes, I felt that too. Just various different feelings of not wanting to go to baby showers. And then feeling bad about yourself because you didn't want to attend. But that's really normal and natural. Of course you don't want to go to a baby shower. That's incredibly painful. And so these are the things that I learned in my group. I learned about how other women were having issues with their husbands and their partners, because they had a different way of coping and dealing with things. And so what happened is, instead of bringing the couple together, there were times when each member of the couple felt very, very isolated with their own thoughts and their feelings. A lot of times I have men and women come to me, and the husband is so relieved. It's like he kind of wants to drop his wife off at the office so she can talk about her feelings, because he has a lot of feelings too, but he wouldn't dare bring up the subject because he feels like then the waterworks come. And then, he just kind of opened Pandora's box up. So, it can create a sense of isolation in the couple. That's why it's really important for the women that I see. They come and they get the support, and they come and they join the group, and they come and they talk to me individually. And then, sometimes I do see couples also, or we do a treatment plan where if couples therapy is warranted, we do that. It's the treatment plan is custom designed for each person that comes to me. And so it's really a relief for a lot of the women I talk to have a place where they can talk about their feelings. And it's also a relief to their partner, to their husband, that there's some place where she can talk about this, because there's a sense of overwhelm for everybody. It's a very, very overwhelming, emotionally overwhelming experience. What could be more compelling than wanting to reproduce? I mean, really, if you take a look at all animal behavior, it's all centered around reproduction. I went to Montana. I love Montana. And I saw these big elkhorns. And then they shed the elkhorns after mating season. And I just learned about the elkhorns, that the way the elkhorns work for the males is that the more ornate they are and the more they have that horn fuzz on them, I guess, that's more sexually attractive to the females. And so they are able to mate with more females. And so this is all based on fertility. So many other examples of animal behavior, and we're part of the animal kingdom. So we're very, very compelled to reproduce. And when we aren't able to do that, it's very emotionally and developmentally stunting. So what happens to us when we're going through infertility is it really can isolate and separate us from the people that we're friends with, the people that we know and we love. People get married and you have couples friends, and then what usually happens shortly thereafter is people start having babies. And that's what happened with my husband and I. And initially it's like, well, we're gonna be focused on our careers. But then when I got bitten by that baby bug, I just was heartbroken. I was heartbroken every month. When my period came, and that was that emotional roller coaster. And I was heartbroken when my friends were having baby number 1, baby number 2, baby number 3. I mean, it just was really so sad for me. And then I felt bad about myself because I had an emotional reaction. I had a reaction where I didn't want to be around these people. And these were my dear friends. And so that was really with this, and go through infertility. So when I found the Resolve group, my Resolve group, it was such a blessing because these women really got it. They really understood. They didn't think I was nuts when I wanted to kidnap the baby off the streets of Mexico. One woman, my neighbor, I had a neighbor that was in my group too. She's a little bit older than me, and she had been through 10 years of infertility. And so anyway, she was in my group. And then there was one woman in our neighborhood who, she just kept popping out the babies. I mean, oh my gosh, I think she ended up having 6 kids. And so I was telling my neighbor, Maureen, I said, gosh, Maureen, I'd like to drink what's in her water over there at her house. Cause man, whatever she's doing and the water she's drinking is better than my water. Cause it's not happening. I'm not getting pregnant. And then I hope I don't offend anybody here, but, Maureen was very forthright and direct. And she says, screw the water. I want to F her husband. And I just started laughing. And I mean, this is what happens to us. It's like cut to the chase. So anyways, it was so good to be connected with this group of women that totally got me. We were able to share how we were thinking and feeling. And the other women didn't think we were crazy. They took it up a notch like Maureen did. And then we were able to problem solve. We were able to talk about our treatments, our treatment plans, different tests that we had taken, what our diagnoses were, what the symptoms of the diagnoses were. And this was very helpful. It really informed us as far as then we were able to have a collaborative discussion with our doctors. And what's amazing about reproductive endocrinologists is they're an incredible breed of people, because it very much so can be a collaborative process. They are open to that. It's not a situation where the doctor tells you. It's that it can be collaborative in that you tell the doctor what you're experiencing, what you've researched, and the doctor then can share with you what they think is recommended in your particular case. So it just takes the treatment level up a few notches. And that's one of the things that happens in infertility, is that before I started infertility, I thought that, well, the doctor is the expert. The doctor has the answers. The doctor will fix this problem for me. And when I started to seek treatment, I realized that there's a reason why they call it art. It is the art of practicing infertility, in that there are no definitive answers in a lot of cases, that it's trial and error. And sometimes we don't know why certain things work. Sometimes we do. But it's quite a learning curve to learn about all the various possibilities, treatments, the pros and cons. And that's another way where the group really came in handy with the problem solving, was that it was like we had 6 people on our team, and we were all doing our own research. No one can research like a woman going through infertility, let me just tell you. But you have to be careful with that, because there are sources that are better than others. So you need to stick with sources that are authoritative and not anecdotal, and that are legitimate. And so that's also the value of the group, is to really brainstorm, and really it really helps you get to the essence of what's going to be helpful for you. So, all right. So this is, I'm talking about how beneficial the group was for me, and I highly recommend the group process as a resource, along with individual and couples therapy as needed. You know, with your other professionals, they are very, very good at what they do. They only have a certain amount of time they're able to spend with you. And these treatments, there's a lot of questions, and it's very emotional. It's very emotional to make these transitions. And so having a therapy group, having a therapist for individual or couples support, having a consultant is very, very important. My passion is to do all of those things, because this is my work I'm passionate about, because of my own personal experience.